Welcome back to the channel. Gonna go for a little drive today in the JK. Just got done, I shouldn't say done. Nothing's ever done. I don't know. Finished? I don't know. Finished, done. Anyways, I just got a nice modification on the JK checked off the list, and that is putting in a mobile radio. So I want to talk about that a bit and go for a little drive and tell you about it. So get this thing to warm up. It's wicked cold out today. I think it was single digits last night. Jeep says it's up to 20 degrees now, but yeah, go for a little drive. So in general, I think that mobile radio communications are still valid and popular. I think it's changing a little bit from what used to be with like CB radios.
That's a big 10-4!
And there still are people that use them, but I think most people are moving on to other things. And one of those things, or the most popular, I should say, I think right now, for better or worse, is GMRS radio. So that is a new, easy to get general radio system that has become popular because I think it doesn't require a test like a ham radio license does, and so it still does require a license to use legally in the United States, and it's, I think, $35 for 7 years now, and that is pretty easy to get. It's typical government hoops you have to jump through. You have to get a FCC identification number stuff, go on the website. The payment portal's kind of old, but anyways, in a couple days, a week, you get back a notification that you have a GMRS license. So that makes you and your family, close relatives, legal to use those frequencies. GMRS is a fairly small selection of frequencies. It is right above the normal 70 centimeter ham radio band. It's in the 460s roughly. And so how is it different than CB radio? It's an FM based system, so it's frequency modulated, not AM amplitude modulated. So it tends to be quite a bit clearer, and you get less of the don't sound like this. So it potentially quite a bit clearer. It has legally the potential on certain frequencies, 15 and above, so 15 to 22, to transmit on 50 watts of power, so that's quite a bit, especially on FM. And it is there's a lot of other features with it that are kind of sold as being really, that are oversold, if you ask me. So one of those is privacy tones, which is essentially a way that you can have the radio listen to only specific messages using a tone, but I don't think that has a whole bunch of use for most people. So back to basics. It's a high power FM, easy to get radio system, and it's the most popular. Everybody sells radios to do it, and a lot of those the normal GMRS radios come pre-programmed, all those things, and installation is fairly easy. Basically just apply power to it and you have a radio, set up an antenna, whatever. The next step beyond that, I think, is amateur radio in the US, which is basically like ham radio, and that gives you some more functionality for frequencies you can access legally, bands you can use, all those things. But I do have my ham radio license. I've had it a long time. Honestly, I don't use it that much, and most of the groups that I travel with have trended towards GMRS, have my GMRS radio license too. So anyways, I think GMRS is the most popular in the USA right now. There are other countries that have similar setups, probably actually similar and better. Australia, for one, very similar radio system available, but much more broad in its scope. They have a really large amount of frequencies available, I think 80 instead of our 22, and they have a much more established protocol for travel channels, not only in a general sense, but also on specific trails or roads and things like that. Anywho, I wanted to kind of mix those capabilities, if you were, in the radio that I installed in the Jeep, or this Jeep. I have mobile radio setups in my old flat fender. The old flat fender is a more waterproof style radio. It's out in an open Jeep, so I think having that was important. And then in the LX45, I actually have a even broader scope radio that is quad band radio that even has the ability to listen on I think 10 and 11 meter, which covers CB frequencies on AM. It can do all the amateur radio stuff also on 2 meter, 70 centimeter, blah 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 blah. Very broad radio. It's but a lot larger radio. The faceplate's kind of small, but and it's remote mountable, but the box, if you will, the brain is quite large, and in that vehicle it was actually kind of hard to find a place to put it that was out of the way. It actually is behind this speaker heater box that I have as a center console in that, and then as you've seen, the display is kind of behind the gear shifter down low. The mic, it has a cord beyond that. So over all those things, and also other options like handheld radios, the Beifang UV5 stuff that's very, very popular. You can buy GMRS versions of those radios now also. And so in the JKU, it's got a very clean, modern interior. For the most part, it is cheap, I know. But it also has so I didn't want stuff mounted everywhere. And so what I came up with was this small mobile radio where everything is mounted in the or everything is controlled rather from the handset. And so it's a very small box brain that can be remote mounted, and the only thing you have to have out in the Jeep cabin space is the mic, if you will, and the display is built into that. The other thing I've really noticed with that general concept that I like is with a lot of the other radios, the display is always mounted somewhere else, and as my eyes have gotten a little bit older and having a little bit more trouble reading and seeing without reading glasses, or whether or not the contacts are in, or if I'm wearing glasses. We all get older, and if you haven't yet, it's coming. And so I found it a lot easier to be able to have it so the screen being on the mic, even though it's smaller, it's a lot easier to move the mic closer to my eyes if I need to see something to check a channel or a frequency, than to move my eyes closer to some remote mounted display. And there's ways around that, like some of them have much larger displays and you don't have to get as close, but I just didn't want to have a whole bunch more stuff mounted. I like keeping the pretty clean sight lines, and so this all-in-one mic solution really was a good fit for me. And so what that let me do also, the mic, this version of it uses a screw style bulkhead 9-pin connector, and so I can very easily disconnect the mic. I made a small bulkhead connection in one of the available knockouts. This is a sport model Jeep, so I had a blank spot in the switch power panel where I believe in the more option Jeeps, that's actually where the 12 volt power port went, and then the other side was the power mirror adjuster. So I don't have power mirrors, so it left me a blank spot. I was able to take that small, basically just a little clip-in knockout style plug out, and I was able to modify that one small removable replaceable part to be the connector for the radio cord, so or the mic cord, and so I can very quickly just unscrew that mic connection and store the handset somewhere out of sight, out of mind, center console, glove box, whatever I want. And really at that point, there's very little evidence that the vehicle had any kind of radio. To further that stealthy approach, one of my other kind of pet peeves with radio installs is antennas that are out and in the way. And so on this, after trying a couple different things and playing around with a couple different options with the magnet mount antenna and where I wanted it and what style, I actually ended up drilling the cowl panel kind of where the wipers are, and putting a permanent NMO mount in that panel. And then I found for most of the use on GMRS frequencies, I found a very low profile, it's about the size of a hockey puck, antenna by Larson that screws into that NMO mount. No tools required for that, it's just a screw-on operation. But all in all, it's a funny story. So very low profile install. One funny thing, and I might have to fix it at some point. I did not know this, but Larson actually makes a white version of that antenna. So if I would have got that or known about that, I would have probably got that version, and the vendor that I purchased or found it from just didn't have that listed or as an option on the same page. But with the white one, with a white Jeep, it would have been super low profile then. But so I have an antenna solution that doesn't hang up anywhere outside the vehicle. I didn't have to run wires all the way to the back of the vehicle to put it back there somewhere. I think the hood is a pretty good ground plane reflective surface for the antenna, and I can't see it at all from the driver's seat in the normal position. I can, if I crane up there, I can see it kind of down under the wiper there, but overall it just kind of disappears, and I really like that. So is it the best antenna for everything? Absolutely not. It's a darn decent antenna for GMRS. In my testing, it actually receives on much more than that. Acceptably, I can, go play on listening to the local repeaters on 2 meter. I can do, get NOAA weather broadcasts on it, all that kind of stuff easily. And it's just an NMO mount, so I can just unscrew that hockey puck style antenna and screw on anything I want if I need something else, especially in like an emergency, if I needed to reach out further or whatever else. I do keep one of those small little carrot stick, I think is the name that everybody uses for them. Antennas in the center console like this that will transmit on 2 meter for getting to the local repeaters if I need to for something. Again, it fits in the glove box. It's an easy solution. It's dang near small enough I don't see that either, but the hockey puck wins a little bit there. And I'll probably pick up like something that's got some, reasonable length to it. Comet makes up a couple pretty good ones that I've used in the past, but I just didn't want a big antenna for most of the things that I do. I don't think I need that. The majority of my use, other than a little bit of listening, is just car-to-car communication on trail rides and stuff like that. So the only other thing I find myself using the radio for more and more these days is actually spotter communication. So a couple years ago I found these little guys. I don't know if you can see that very well. These are just Walker game ears. So kind of like hunting electric earmuffs, but they make a radio module that's an FRS, so pretty similar to the lower end of the GMRS, and there's a couple overlap channels. But anyways, these, the spotter or somebody working on the other end of the winch line or whatever the case may be can throw those on. They actually are not just noise canceling, so you can set them so they cancel noise, but they also do like the hunting mode, so you can hear everything around you. Loud protection, but it actually amplifies low noises a little bit if you want. And there's a Vox, so voice activated setting on those, so the spotter can be completely hands-free when they're working on stuff. And I've just found that kind of useful in the last couple years. I actually built a pair of those, and we're playing around with using them as intercoms and hearing protection in the LX45 on the highway. They don't work. They work okay for that, but not great. But for the radio communication, that's really good. So other little things with this radio, I built a magnet mount for the handset, so I don't really even have to look too close to get it to clip back in and hold itself up. That's on a bullet point grab bar mount. I was able to modify some of their included RAM style ball mount things for a little magnet. I made a little piece that pressed into the old clip of the stock radio. I really like that. And this radio is actually fairly loud for its size, especially in a somewhat quieter vehicle than I'm normally used to. And I probably will play with having an external speaker of some kind, or plugging it into the aux port on the main radio. If I could play that through the main speakers that are already there, that'd be nice. So the only thing, I guess, so this is an Anysecu. It's, I believe, 20 to 25 watts, depending on what band you're operating on. 2 meter, 70 centimeter, and a little bit more. It has a programming software included from the manufacturer that's pretty marginal, but it also is well supported now on Chirp, which is the main kind of free open source programming software. So you can go into that and program, I think it's 200 different channels with the names of everything, descriptions, all that kind of stuff, and then just upload it to the radio at once versus trying to program in on the little keypad or something. I do try and keep a copy of that list in the basically where I keep the owner's manual for the Jeep, and I stick the radio owner's manual there too, just so that in case I forget to something about how to access some feature on the radio, that's there. This radio does also have a Vox function, so you can operate it hands-free, and you can hear it kind of picking up a couple things now that we're back in town. And what else do you want to know about radios? So I think that's, the only thing I so far that I found that I don't like about this radio, it does not have an automatic power off. So both of my other mobile radios, and maybe I just haven't found it yet. If you know that that setting's there and you can describe where to find it, definitely drop a comment below. But it does not have a automatic power off. So if you have it wired directly to the battery, which is my preferred method, that it will turn itself off after a half hour or 15 minutes or whatever you select of no use. As soon as you use the radio, I believe transmitting out, or most of my other radios, it will reset that timer and eventually it turns itself off. This radio does not have that, so I decided to put this one on switched power. So it is just key power and accessory power, and that works pretty well. It's not my preferred setup, but with where everything is, the brain box is mounted underneath the glove box, so everything's fairly easy to get to. I could, you know, I could bypass that wiring and wire it up directly to a battery or something along those lines pretty easy. Yeah, that's my new radio in the JKU, and kind of my general theory on radio. And now that you've listened to me babble on for, gosh, 20 minutes probably or more, I'm sure you're sick of it and you've fast forwarded and already skipped to the next video. But if you made it this far, if you have any questions, definitely drop a comment below. And if you like this kind of stuff, definitely let me know. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all those kind of things. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for following along. Bye.